Welcome back, Spiritual Fitness IG Live edition. Welcome back again, ladies and gents. We have another phenomenal episode. I have the privilege to have, I'll call her the abundance queen, Deepika. Deepika is a business executive. She's a writing coach. She's a thought leader. She's a best-selling author 3 or 4 times, maybe more. And she's such an incredible, phenomenal individual. And today we're going to talk about the power of writing, thinking big, and being attuned to the universe. Hello, universe. I think Deepika is ready to tell you how she scheduled her breakdown for her breakthrough. Hey, how are you? How are you? How's your day? And what's the latest and greatest on your end?
It's been a beautiful day, right? I had a really great thought that I was waiting to share with you, and I wanted to share it with you.
Yeah.
But there's the obvious versions of success, right? Things that we see about ourselves. I'm just going to dive in, Eric. This thought was with me for the last couple hours.
I was dying to tell you. Integrate all the other stuff. Just go ahead and do your thing.
Success comes up in so many different ways that's obvious. Like, we have external markers of success that are clear. But sometimes when things don't go well for us, we think that's an example of not being successful. But really, the things that aren't going well for us are absolutely serving us, and they're creating success in different ways. So that was the thought that I was having earlier, that I was like, ooh, Eric and I can dissect that one till the cows come home.
That was great. Just because things don't go your way doesn't mean things are not going your way, if you would say.
Exactly.
So to the people who don't know you, I know you very well. You're very, intellectually sound, spiritual. You're attuned to the universe. You always preach about thinking big and manifesting, abundance. But before we get into that, can you just give us a brief synopsis of who is Deepika? Where is she from? How did she become this abundance queen? And who is she in the flesh?
Yes. I'm a Silicon Valley business executive. I have been in this industry for 25 years. I just recently officially retired from my corporate world. But here's the thing. I had done everything in my life that everybody told me to do would lead to a happy life. I lived just checking the boxes, ticking them off of what it was going to take to do well in life. I did well in school. I listened to my parents. I went to a great college. I got a good education. I married a handsome man. I had the kid. I had the house. I had the life. And I had carefully curated every aspect of my existence. And I turned 40 and looked around and was like, wait a second, I don't think I want any of this that I created.
Yeah.
On my journey to check all the boxes in life, I never stopped to ask myself, does any of this make me happy? And that journey at 40, crying in my closet, sobbing, trying to figure out what to do next, I just realized I didn't want to wake up at 50 feeling the same way. So that's where my book, Hello Universe, It's Me, comes from, because I, in that moment, decided I needed to schedule a breakdown and figure out what to do with this life. If I could tell all these big tech companies in Silicon Valley how to optimize their operations and how to get better at doing this, how to implement better controls in their systems, well, then I could surely figure out how to do that for myself. So this whole journey over these last 4 years has been, since the book came out, has been sharing this story with the world, and it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think you prefaced it earlier before we even got into this that you had to schedule your breakdown for a breakthrough, and I think I want us to speak briefly on contrast and having challenges and changes in life. And I don't want people listening or watching to be like, oh, you've done these great things. But what were some of the challenging moments or the contrast that you had to endure to be where you are today, right? Like, I think in the world we live in, we don't give enough credit to the down moments, the sad moments, the real moments where you were in your closet trying to figure it out at 40, you had did everything, but was it making you happy? What was the most pivotal moment in your life, and what was the turning point outside of, hitting the age of 40 that got you to where you are today? To say, look, I want to retire and just go live another life and create a new breakthrough and breakdown and framework.
Yeah, there's no one moment, right?
Okay.
There's multiple moments that create the moments. There's all the tiny shifts and the tiny twists that kept leading to bigger and bigger things. But if I were to pick the bigger moments of this journey, getting divorced was so, I don't even know the word. It literally knocked the wind out of me to go through that process. I knew that process was for me, but I went through I went through I went through a contentious divorce, right? And that process, and then adjusting a child, a very young child, this knocked the wind out of me, right? But in every step of that journey, because I knew that this was right, this was what needed to happen, this is what needed to keep going in my own life, what I needed to go through, I held the faith that this was going to get me to where I needed to go, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one of certainly the very pivotal moments of my life that really changed the trajectory of my life, because without that moment, there is no Hello Universe, It's Me, right? There is no book. There is not everything else that came from there for me. But it wasn't always the big things, right?
Yeah.
And I think even for you, you've had huge moments, but it's sometimes those smaller moments that actually create so much more change than we could even imagine, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing, is that big moment that maybe it was big at the moment, but maybe it was so small to get you to your big moment. So I know a few people personally, and just in life in general, I think people deal with separation and people deal with divorce and challenges. What was one thing you can give anyone or someone if they're going through a breakup, divorce, or separation? What is the one thing a person can kind of keep in mind and kind of keep them moving forward in such a tough, process?
Well, you got to believe, right? You've got to believe that you can get through
Yeah.
it. And that's not just words like, oh, you got to believe, you got to keep the faith. It's like actually in your bones feeling that this is happening for you, that there is something in this that is absolutely happening for you. In my darkest days, I would just say, universe, today, just show me the way. Show me what I need for today in this moment to keep going. The secret, they say you can get all the way from New York to Los Angeles in the fog, just seeing, 20 feet in front of you every time. If that's what's happening in your life and that's what you need to move through in your life, move through it that way. That's okay. I moved through it that way probably for several years of this transition into this new phase of my life, right? Where I didn't know what was going to happen day over day. But I had to hold the faith that I could see 20 feet in front of me. And so, universe, take me that 20 feet. I'll figure out the next 20 feet from there.
Yeah.
So I think it's about having the faith, but not just in words, right? Not just in, not at a superficial level. It's truly feeling that faith, that trust deep within ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And that comes, you have to cultivate that. You got to create that.
Yeah, and you got to embody it. So with that deep faith and trust and belief, it sounds great, and you got over it and you integrated that in your life. What was the deep faith and belief for you to write your first book, or the book that everyone knows about? Because I don't know, how many books do you have actually published?
I have 3
Got
books
it.
published and another one in the works. So
Got it. Got it.
yes, couple in the works. For Hello Universe, It's Me, it felt like the story was wanting to come out of me. So it wasn't like I sat down and said, I should write a book today. Here's my story. Let me go type it out. It wasn't that. It was more that the story kept coming to me. What I was experiencing in my own life was coming through me like it was a story, not just my story, but a story somehow, some way that so many other people were going to relate to, right? So creating that moment for myself where I was like, I couldn't not write it because it was coming through constantly as you've got to put this out there. And then it was just bravery, right? Like one foot in front of the other, because it was scary. It was really scary to write my own personal journey. And then it was extremely scary to move and put that personal journey out into the world for the world to see. But again, it was this faith, this belief that there's something that's calling this story through me, wanting to come out into the world. So I need to let it, right? I need to let it all come through.
Yeah, and I think it's a beautiful story, right? Because you wrote it and you write it, but also psychologically, we create stories in our life, and we're living stories that we manifest. What do you think? Because you said scary a few times. What do you think? What's the reason why people have the greatest fear to leave the story they're in to go create the new story that they want?
It's the only thing they know. We've only known the life that we have existed within, the life we see people around us existing in, and that creates our own pattern and program. Think about it. We're like a computer, right? So look, I'm in Silicon Valley. We're like computers,
Yeah.
okay? We got all these different inputs coming into our computer. All those different inputs are what society has told us to do, what we might hear on the news, our parents, grandparents, Bollywood, Hollywood, whatever you're consuming is coming in as an input, right? And we believe that based on all these things that we've been hearing
Yeah.
and been learning and been seeing around us, that is then how we should respond when those kinds of situations or circumstances come up. But what if that's not true, right? What if we are more than the situation, the circumstances, and the people that we've been around all this time? And what if we could actually reprogram the computer to have different patterns and different beliefs?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
whole reason we can't do something or we don't feel something or we can't move in some direction is because we don't believe it. We are fearful of it.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because our computer has inputs of things that tell us that's true. But what if we could change the inputs, right? And create different inputs that allow us not to be afraid. So my input was to be very scared to tell my story. Oh, we don't need everybody to know that. You don't need to open the curtains on all this. Why do you want everybody to know what's happening? Just move on in your life. That was what was coming into my computer. That was my pattern and program. But what did I do? I said, no, I got
Yeah.
something to say, and I think people are going to need to hear it. I don't know what they're going to get out of it, but I have a feeling that they need to hear it. And I gave myself permission, a different pattern, a different program to say, actually, I can do this. And now we have this output where people are reading this book around the world, right? We're about to release it in
Yeah.
Spanish, and it's reaching new audiences every day. It's winning awards. Why? Because we were able to change, I was able to change a pattern and program, create a new one that allowed for a different outcome to occur. And so can everybody else. But we're so trapped in that fear
Yeah. That
and don't
fear.
think we can
And
change it.
yeah. I mean, you upgraded your mental software, right? And I
Absolutely.
always believe that faith comes from hearing. So the more people can hear the story, they can heal from the story and they can look at their own story. And I think this is why writing is powerful, why writing is therapy. What have been life benefits, psychological benefits that has changed your life just through writing? It could be journaling, but you've written several books. What is the benefits of writing in your mind's eye?
Writing has been the most powerful tool for me. I think I was always journaling, even from the youngest of ages. I have my 10-year-old tween journal too, and it's all preteen angst in it. But the periods of my life where I wasn't writing, that is where things got more confused, less clear. And there were big chunks of that, big chunks of my 30s. I didn't write at all. Maybe I wasn't inspired. Maybe I had nothing to say. Maybe I was too afraid to journal. But moving into my 40s, I wrote much more, and I wrote much more prolifically. And the times of my life when I was writing, the clarity would come through, right? The visions I needed to see came through. The imagination was allowed to go wild and actually think about different things in my day-to-day reality. And that was incredibly, incredibly powerful.
I always say, writing for me is therapy,
Yeah.
right? It releases emotions and thoughts and things. I mean, we work with through this and a process that we're in. I'm opening up new portals and paradigms within myself, all through writing,
Yeah.
And I think writing is honestly, now that I think about it, a pathway or maybe some of the quickest way to your spirit, right? Being attuned to your higher self, to the spirit of you. And for you, what I've known in the last 8 to 9 months, you're really good at manifesting things that come through your spirit to bring it into life in an effortless way. So can you speak on the power of being attuned to the universe and how you've used that to kind of create your life to actually schedule, forget the breakdown, to schedule a retirement to go and start a new paradigm in your life that's creating magic for other people? What is your power and connection to the universe, that allow you to have confidence and faith and believe to take aligned action to create something that can help everybody else take action in their life as well?
I think universe wants better and more for us than we want for ourselves. So controversial opinion, I don't think we should manifest specific things and specific outcomes. So you may want the white Mercedes to show up in your driveway with a big bow on it, but none of my manifestations have actually shown up that way for me. I instead say, okay, Mercedes would be nice, but whatever universe you want to bring my way, I am here to receive it. And being in that energy of believing that universe wants more for me than I can even see for myself, and being open to receiving that has been incredibly, incredibly powerful for me, right? Because what it has done for me is to say that I can only see what's in my 3D reality. I can only see what other people are getting. I can see that other people have a white Mercedes. That seems like a pretty nice thing. I would really like that too. Let's go, right? But I can't see that universe has this idea of landing me a private jet and saying, why don't you go on this, right? We got this for you. So I'm here for the bigger experiences. I'm here for the things that want to land for me that I am truly ready to receive and ready to flow into. But I don't know what they are until they land. So for me, this whole period of life that I've been in now, I mean, we can call it a quantum leap. We're cartwheeling, we're somersaulting, like big things have been happening. But they're not necessarily the things that I sat down and said, yes, I would like to have this, check, right? I have lived the checkbox life trying to do all of those things, or trying to acquire or be or have the next thing that I think someone like me should have. Now I'm in this space where, okay, show me what's out there. What is it that you want me to receive? Allow me to be that vessel to completely allow it in. And I'm here for it, right? I'm here to accept it. I wouldn't have the business that I have today. I would not have the team that I have today. I would not have I wouldn't even have this house or this book or any of these things if I wasn't open to what was possibly coming my way, right? That was bigger than what I expected, right? If I just kept focusing on the thing I think I wanted, I think I wouldn't have been open to receive the other stuff that was making its way to me. So I think it's about being a vessel, right? Being open to allowing in what is meant for you, which is what I say, universe, if it's for me, bring it. I'm here for it.
I love that. Universe, if it's for me, bring it. And it's interesting because I think, I had part of it in my life where I think you and I both, we lived the American dream.
Yeah.
But what about the universe's dream, right? What the universe has a dream for us, to create an infinite intelligence. And there's been moments in my life where I'm sitting and I'm thinking, I'm strategizing, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And I'm thinking, this is great. It sounds good. You tell a friend and get excited. And then you do it and it's like, it's not really making noise.
Yeah.
But it felt that way. And then you're talking, you're boom, and then something comes in and then, oh, wow, I'm going to a TV show. I've never thought about that ever in my life. I didn't come to LA for that. I came to LA for grad school. Oh, Peru? Plant medicine? Plant medicine? I would never do plant medicine. Hike Machu Picchu? Oh my God. Work with, high-end entrepreneurs and CEOs? Oh, I can coach them as well. It's like, it's so true. Like, we get so fixated on the plan, the 5-year plan, the marriage, the house, the kids, the family. But what if that's not in your wheelhouse to manifest for you in your soul's house, right? What does your soul want? Not what your ego or your mind or what the family might want for you. And I think you've been really good at saying, you know what? I see this, but I trust this because this is bigger. I think we were talking the other day. It's like, we got to think bigger, right? Like, because it's easy. Like, yeah, those things are great, but how does this manifest more if we're not thinking here?
Yes.
And so I think what you've done in the course of a short span of time is really believe in what's coming through. And I think that's the disconnect or challenge for people. They don't believe the downloads. They don't believe the thoughts that spirit is giving them because they're not in tune with that.
Yeah.
Are there any ways or some suggestions or some tips you can give people to really trust what's coming through that might not be logical, but could make spiritual sense?
Yeah, I was just writing about this earlier today. All my life, I got the soul sparks. That's what I call
Right.
them in the book. That's what my company is called. And these are those moments where you literally get stopped in your tracks. Somebody says something and it catches you. Something comes in your path and you suddenly take notice of something that you never took notice of before. It's those moments when the universe is actually speaking to us. And what I was writing about today is that I willfully, consciously, completely ignored the universe time and time and time again. It
Wow.
was trying for so many years to get my attention, right?
Yeah.
And I would be like hearing the message, feeling the energy of like, oh my God, something's wrong here, or I shouldn't be doing this, or I should be doing this, or whatever it might be. And willfully, totally, and completely ignoring it every single time.
Yeah.
Right? So universe is talking to us, but we don't trust it, right? We talked about having faith earlier and believing in ourselves. But when universe is speaking to you, you actually have to hear it, not in one ear, out the other. Forget about it. I'll just keep going on my wheel, going on my way, blinders on, not worrying about it. In order for you to be connected with the universe, in order for you to be that vessel to actually receive, you've got to quiet down your life enough to hear what the universe is saying, right? If you're caught up in the go, 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 and the TV's on loud and the music is loud and the kids are screaming and there's a million things to do and the email noises keep going ding, 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 ding on your phone all day,
Right.
you never give your chance to hear yourself the chance to hear what the universe is trying to tell you. And so you do what I did for a very long period of time, which is actively ignore what you're starting to hear about your life, the truths about your life that are starting to come through. But we don't want to be ignoring them, right? We want to be hearing them. But we ignore them because we don't have faith and we're afraid. Going back to our old patterns and programs and everything we talked about earlier, we're afraid, right? To take a different path, to take that step, to move in the direction that we might desire to be in.
I think what I'm learning, where I think the world is moving, the world is moving more into spiritual currency, right? Because the material realm is pretty, right? It's enticing, it's gravitating, but it's not actually real life, because you can have all these things, right? But if it doesn't feel the way it looks, then what's the purpose? And I think we're moving into this space of spirituality, being attuned to the universe, meditating, breath work, prayer, but really tap into the spiritual bank account of ourselves. Like, what is this telling me? What is it showing me? And what should I feel? What am I feeling that I need to do? Yeah. So to go back, when I first moved to LA, there was no logic. There was all faith and from my spirit, my intuition. And I think intuition is so relatable to people, but we ignore it because we don't want to believe it, because maybe the thing that we might have to change is someone we love or care about, or this job or career that we're attached to. But this is the spiritual truth. This is going to get you to the next level. This is going to spark your soul to write a book, to change your life, to travel the world, to find that new partner, to bring in that love, to bring in that abundance, to really say, wow, I didn't know I had this ability. I didn't know people saw me in this realm. And I think that's what I want people to take, not only from this conversation, but take this and apply it in their life. Right now, if we just sat still and you took a deep breath, what is the first word that come up? And don't even try to change it, right? Like for me, it's love. Like, okay,
oh, that's what came up for me too. Mine was love.
Right. So something as simple as that, how can we take that and integrate it and manifest it more by trial and error, or testing it, so people can be more attuned to the universe of themselves to have a better life? Because I don't believe in we should struggle, suffer, fight, and sacrifice so much just to get to where we want to go if there's a different path. And I think you discovered that on your journey, writing the books, being in corporate America, helping big companies go public, on the stock market and all these things. You've listened and paid attention and followed with divine action. And I think all people want to do that, but they just don't have the faith. And so where you are today in your life, what is different from who you were a year ago today and who you are today? What's the difference? Because something's changed.
Something has changed. And I think it's the belief, it's the faith, and it's the stories that I am telling myself about myself. So I think storytelling has everything to do with manifesting, right? Because it is the story that we are telling ourselves, about our lives. It's what we are choosing to believe. And the period of time is probably like 2 years ago to now for me, but it was like a different story I was telling myself, right? I was telling myself a story of, oh, I don't know, will people read this book? Will they like it? I don't know. I don't really want to talk about it. I'm afraid of what somebody might say about it. I don't want to blah, 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 right? Whereas over these last 2 years, the story that I've been telling myself is this book is meant to be in the world. This book is meant to reach larger audiences. This book is meant to impact people. I personally am meant to be a vessel for other people's stories to come through. I am here to help people live a more expansive life. And I'm giving people permission that even if your life looks really, really good, and it is really good in certain areas, you are allowed to make those changes and you are allowed to move forward. So it really is about the stories you want to tell yourself. If you don't like the way it's going, change the story. Start telling yourself a different story. Believe a different truth about yourself. Right? Believe a different truth about your life. Give yourself permission to see it a different way and to start to talk about it as if it is that way, right? Tell yourself the story you would love your life to be and then let it be it.
What is your recommendation or, suggestion to someone? Because I know a lot of people out there that have amazing stories, like amazing stories. And when I'm in their presence or when I hear from them, I'm like, you need to quote this. You need to write a book. And they're like, yeah. But when people say, yeah, I'm going to write a book, and they're just saying it, is that like fear that it's going to be a failure or they don't have the resources? Because I believe everyone has a book in them. But there's people out here that I know personally who need to write a book, not for vanity, but for longevity. I wrote a book in 2015 that I published in 2021 that people are buying and still benefiting from. It's timeless. And I'm not saying everyone has to write a book like us or me or we, but write their own book. It can be 10 pages. But I believe people have medicine in them that can help their environment, their community, and help themselves. So what do you prefer someone who has so much to give the world and they're thinking about writing a book? They have no clue what to do. What should be their first thought of action?
97% of people who want to write a book never start.
97?
I just read that recently. Like they just never even start. 80 something percent of people who start don't finish. So here's the thing. If you have it in you and you want to write a book, the number one step is to just start writing. Make a daily habit to just write a little bit every day. Sit back and think about what are the scenes, the episodes, the moments that you feel are worth sharing with someone else, and pick one and write a little bit about it, right? Write a paragraph about it. Just play with that a bit to get started. But the hardest part of this is just getting started because, again, we're programmed by fear. Who's going to want to read my story? What if I write all this and nobody even likes it? What am I going to do? How am I going to publish it? How am I going to sell it? Let me tell you, the answers are there for every one of those fears, right, that are there. The number one step is to just actually get started, right? Is to actually just write something. So if there's a moment in your life where you're like, ooh, this would make such a great story, take the mini moment within that moment and write a paragraph about it and give yourself permission to start. The other way to start is to ask yourself, well, why?
Yeah.
Why do I want to share my story? What would be my intention behind my story, right? Mm-hmm. I believe our stories all need to be told. Every person out there has a story and nobody has your exact story. So you could say, I'm going to write a book, but who am I to tell a story about a woman climbing the corporate ladder and boo-hoo, she doesn't really love her life at 40. Well, there's already books like that. There's Eat, Pray, Love, and there's Bridget Jones, and there's this and there's that. But there isn't my story. Or there wasn't until I published mine. But there isn't your story either, right? So your story from your vantage point, from your viewpoint, from who you are, from all the inputs that made you, that created this moment, and to share it, that is your unique story, and that needs to come out. So if you've got a story in you, and you do, everybody does, you've got to start to put it out there. You've got to get past the fear.
I'm opening up new parts of myself I didn't even know existed, right? We discovered together that my entire life I went against the grain, right? I went against the grain, like to be where I'm at, but I didn't know that. I'm like, I'm just living my life. Like, I'm just being E. but you will discover a different part of you to take you to the next level of you, all through writing, right? Things you didn't even know that was still inside your body, your mind. And it's just I just think writing is so underrated just as much as reading. It's like they don't get the proper attention because it's boring, but it can change your life just reading a book,
Yeah,
writing a book, and just writing in general, right? Your journal. It makes sense to fear because we all have fear, but at the end of the day, when we aspire and we retire and we transition, I feel like a book is the best way to leave your energy, your wisdom behind, right? Even
absolutely.
if it's a small table read. And I think it's important. Let's talk about thinking big because I feel like you're really good at that. I need to think bigger, or I just what I do. Was it because you was in the corporate world? Because how you were raised? Like, where's this paradigm of thinking big? When did that start for you?
I think thinking big probably started after I left college, got my first corporate job, because you're watching people above you. It's kind of the same thing that might happen with anyone when they step into their first job. You're seeing the
Yeah,
people above you, the managers and the partners and the vice presidents, and how they're dressed and what they look like and what car they're driving. And you start thinking, oh, wow, if I work really hard, I can get to that level. But once I had gotten to all those levels, right, I had done all those things and I had a lot of career success very early, I looked around and thought, okay, well, now what do I do, right?
yeah,
What is this going to be like? And for me, then it became like, let me unlock a portal for myself that is not just related to corporate success and career success, but truly related to what is out there and actually possible for me. So
yeah.
I think it just took a lot of training because my brain was also wired to be afraid and worried and concerned and to take the practical route. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I wanted to work hard. I wanted to make them proud. I wanted to show them the fruits of their labor in my own success. But after all of that, after doing all of those things, it was like, there's got to be more here, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be more to unlock here. And that took a lot of training because you have to unwind the fears, you got to unwind the concerns, you got to unwind the worries in order to get there, right? But it was also, I think, more and more about believing what could happen if you just try. So remember earlier I said the small
Yeah.
shifts can have really big outcomes. Little things I was doing was starting to open more and more doors for me, even if it was small. So releasing the book and going on my first stage to talk about it, probably 4 or 5 months later, unlocked 24 subsequent speaking events.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't know that that
Wow.
was possible,
Wow.
right? But one thing kept opening a door and leading to another and leading to another and leading to another. I didn't know that could happen. Releasing the book led to, wow, we should do a book tour, but it's the middle of the pandemic. This is like 20 to the summer 2021, right? Well, could we do small, intimate, outdoor, beautiful events up and down the coast of California? Yeah, we can. Doing that made me realize, wait, we can do these kinds of workshops and these kinds of things for more and more people, right? Writing a second book, getting a bestseller, submitting a book for an award, it actually winning the award.
Oh,
All
wow.
these things
Yeah,
are
yeah,
little
yeah.
steps that kept opening another and another and another step for me. Winning those awards got me the TV show in Australia, right? So I have a TV show that aired there last year. That opened that door. Thinking big is working because we're making tiny shifts and things
Yeah.
are happening. What if we give ourselves permission to think bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every single time? We're going to end up someplace pretty darn big, right? If we do that, if we actually believe that those things can be true. It's really about trusting ourselves because we're conditioned not to actually trust ourselves, right? Not to think very big.
Yeah.
But for me, the evidence came for me in every small shift, creating yet another opening for me. And I just kept following those where they go, right? And that led to bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger thinking for me.
Yeah, and I think thinking big has also, for me at least, has to deal with let's see. Let's see what's gonna stick, right? Because it's like if you're in a negotiation, right? And we're to say a brand deal and I'm a company that's looking for, speakers, authors, thought leaders like yourself, and it's like, oh, we got a budget of we don't know our budget. And I'm like, oh, Deepika, how much does it cost to book you for an arena of 5,000 people? What's your rate? Right? I think that's where thinking big starts for people because if a person has never made, let's say, 10,000 speakers, they might, I'm gonna try 5. And then they're like, oh, really? Oh, that is so good. You know what? We're gonna book you, and you get the gig, and then you be like, damn, I should ask for more, right? So there's actually a video of Gary Vaynerchuk. He said his first ever speaking gig, a company was asking him how much. And he's not thinking, he's never really been paid to speak. And he said 10,000. He said they said yes so quick and got the money out to me. I could have made 30,000. But he wasn't thinking big, right? Because his attachment to it wasn't as much as it could. And I think this is what people feel in being an entrepreneur, setting prices on like their training and everything that they do, business products. Thinking big is also to do with like risk taking chances, right?
Yeah.
I always say go big or go home, but what if you don't have to go home when you go big?
For me, one of the things is it's not comparing yourself to others. Like, oh, Eric got booked for 10 grand. I didn't get booked for 10 grand. What do I do now? It's not that. It's like, Eric, how much did you charge? And you tell me I did it for 10,000. I'm like, I could charge 10,000. Right. And then I get the opportunity. I say, I will charge 10,000, right? And I may get paid 10,000. I may not. But the act of me saying something that is big allows big to be possible. If you never think big, if you never think it's possible for you, that you want to be up on that stage, right? And you think it's not possible for me to be up on that stage, then it's not possible for you to be up on that stage. It's just like what we said earlier. It's the story you're telling yourself, right? That you can't do it. But if the story is, oh, Eric did it, Eric charged this, okay, Deepika, I can do that too. I could see that for myself.
Right,
well,
absolutely.
Then that becomes my story. That becomes possible for me. Maybe not that time, but maybe the second time, right? Or the next time that opportunity comes along. That's the power of thinking big and being in the rooms with people who are thinking big like you, right? That's the room I want to be in, where someone is saying, oh yeah, I charge 10 grand every time I get on stage. Yeah, all right, I want to be in that room. I want to know how they did that. I want to do that too.
Yeah, and visibility, right? Like I discovered from having public visibility how people look at you. And if you don't see anyone like you, for example, Indian descent, immigrant family members and stuff, now you make people believe that they can do it. Like when I wrote my first 2 books, it was for me, but it was for my nephews, right?
Yeah.
I don't know nobody in my family who has a book, right? I don't know nobody in my family that left to the West Coast for $1,000. So everything I'm doing is not only to think big, but to change the dynamic and what's possible within my family and for my lineage. So because at the end of the day, it's bigger than us. Deepika, what is the next big thing for you that people should know about or hear about in this moment?
Ooh, well, we are releasing the Spanish version of Hello Universe It's Me on September 10th. So the English version, Hello Universe It's Me, has been out for 3.5 years. It has been inspiring breakthroughs in the English-speaking world in beautiful and exciting ways. And we are so honored and excited that this book is making its way into the Spanish-speaking audience. We'll be doing live events in Miami. We'll be in Mexico City. We're going to be in Colombia. So we've got a full Spanish language book tour coming up that we're very excited about. And we've launched Soul Sparks Press. So I don't talk too much about it yet, but it's been beautifully exciting to bring sweepingly inspirational stories to the forefront. Inspired action memoirs is what we're talking about. And these are big stories, beautiful stories that are going to launch people's own soul sparks all around the world. So very excited to bring these stories to life and be a vessel for other people's beautiful stories to come through and inspire others. So creating the same magic that I've experienced with books for other people. And it's an honor. It's so exciting.
Yeah, and it's not only exciting, it's healing. Like I think what you offer helps people heal. I think there's a hidden agenda when writing what it does for your vessel. It actually amplifies something in you that allows you to evolve in places where you didn't think. And what you offer outside of that, I mean, you got coaching, like what else? How can we get into your energy, your vortex? Where can we find your book? How can we order it? Should we follow you on Instagram? Is there an email list? Like, we want to know all the things.
Come Follow me on Instagram. I'm at deepikasandu.co on Instagram. The book is Hello Universe, It's Me. It is available on Amazon, available Barnes& and Noble, other locations as well. That's how you find me. If you are interested in all the various things I do, come on over, send me a DM. I will get you scheduled in. We will talk. It'll be fabulous. There's lots of ways to work together to write your first book or to rewrite your own story, change your life, come into living your big, beautiful, amazing existence. So all of it. Here for all of it.
Well, thank you, Deepika. This was great. But before we leave, can you just give the people a bit of inspiration that they can take for the rest of their life through what you experienced in your life so far?
Your story matters. Your story matters. How you live that story, how you exist within this story, all of it absolutely 100% matters. And if you don't like the story that you're living right now, if you don't like the way that it is right now, you can turn the page on the story. You've got the pen. You are the captain of this ship. You are writing this story. You get to change it. All you have to do is decide that you want it to be a different way. So if that's what you want in your life, if you want it to be different, if you want it to be something that you haven't even seen before, that you don't know is possible before, write it into existence, because you can change your life. This is your story. This is your shot. Go for it.
Go for it. People, you hear it, go for it. Get your story out. Contact Deepika. Follow her on Instagram at deepikasandu.co. DM her, connect with her. And remember, think big, attune to the universe, and writing is therapy, and eventually publish a book, Soul Sparks Press. And this was amazing. Deepika, thank you again. I'll see you soon. I'm wishing you so much gratitude and abundance. And people, have a good one. Follow her, be great, and this was good. All right, Deepika, I see you soon. Be great, be great, be great.
Thank you.
Peace. All right, bye.
Thank you.